In this video, we're going to take a look at how to create these grids for the interior compositions that are placed in this 15 by 20 inch black background file. So the first thing we want to do, as it indicates here, we want to establish a predetermined grid system. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to demonstrate how to create this 5 by 7 grid in both Illustrator and InDesign. Let's take a look at Illustrator first. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open up an Illustrator file. So I'm going to go to Create New, and I'm going to create a 5 by 5 Illustrator file. So let's go ahead and we'll take a look at some of these settings here. So we got 5 by 5 inches. Okay, I'm going to set up a bleed at an 1/8 of an inch all the way around, and that's all I really need to do thus far in Illustrator. So it's going to go ahead and create that. Now in Illustrator, we can't set margins like we can set margins in the setup dialog box in InDesign. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to manually create a margin for us. Okay, let's set this margin at 1/2 inch. So what I want to do is I just want to set up this. I'm going to go to my rectangle tool, and I'm going to click that, and I'm just going to come in here and I'll click on the artboard. I'm going to set this up at 1.5 by 0.5, and I'm going to use this as a guide to set up the guides to set the margin. Okay, so there's 5 inch, 0.5, 0.5, and let's just go ahead and change that to black so we can see it better. I'm going to take my move tool and I'm going to place it right up in that corner there. At this point, I want to hit Command R to bring up my guides. I'll bring this guide out here to set it right at the bottom there, and we'll bring out this side guide over here to set it right at the side of that. Now at this point, I can take this and I'll move it right down here to establish my other two guides. And here is that guide. And then we'll come down here and bring that fourth guide in. All right. So there's my 1/2 inch margin, right? At this point, I can get rid of that square. We don't need that anymore. Okay, so this is going to be my margin, right? And I want to set my my grid to fall within the margin so we have a nice padding on all four sides of the composition. So what I'm going to do at this point is this. I'm going to go back to my rectangle tool. This time I'm going to change this. I'm going to change the fill color to no color and the stroke color to black. I'm going to go to my rectangle tool. I'm going to come up right over here and I'm going to draw that out right there to fit the guides. Okay. And as we can see, there it is. Now at this point, what we can do with this still selected, I can come right over to Object, Path, and we're going to say Split into Grid. Okay, that brings up this dialog box. And remember, it was 5 by 7, right? So I'm going to go 5 rows. We got to turn the preview on to see it. There's your 5 rows, 7 columns. There's our 7 columns. All right. I'm not going to use a gutter here because that's going to split this into individual rectangles, and I don't want to do that. I just want to set up a loosely based guide here for which to assist me in placement of the elements associated with this composition. So I'm just going to say OK at this point. Okay, we'll say OK there. Now there's our grid. Now we're not ready to use this yet because it's not guides. So what we're going to do at this point is we're going to come over to View. We're going to come down and say Guides, and we're going to say Make Guides. Okay, now as you can see, I'm going to click off the artwork, click over here. These are now guides. We can use these to assist us in setting up the composition. Okay, now, so for example, I'm just going to do this really quickly, but let's go ahead and change that fill color back to black. And okay, let's say we're going to put some text right here. Okay, and then maybe some more text right here. And yeah, I'm asking you to use your imagination here. But so basically I'm following the grid, right? And I'm making sure that I'm not exceeding the margin with any of my design elements. Okay, now at this point, I want to show you what happens when we save this out as a PDF. Now, if I just come down here, I go File, Save As. I'm actually in Illustrator, File, Save As. And we're going to come over here and we're going to save this as a PDF. Okay, and I'm going to call this my grid test. And I just want you to see what this looks like as you save it out as a PDF. So we save it out as a PDF. Go ahead and save. Okay, then we'll go out and we'll open that, and you can see if we open it as the PDF, here it is. Let me just reduce that a little bit. So as we can see, the grid guides are not visible. The margin is preserved. Everything is exactly as how I placed it. And that is how you set up guides in Illustrator using an interior margin to set your guides.